work with many partner organisations, we work with Camden Council, and we're very delighted to welcome the Mayor of Camden, Councillor Lazzaro Pietragnoli. I got it right. And he has this trouble wherever he goes, apparently, the Mayor, so I'm glad I survived that one. So I'm really pleased that he's come. He's very supportive of all our events, and I'm also quite pleased to welcome all you Fortians and supporters of Charles Roy Forte, and you've been supporting him for a long time, I believe, some of you longer than you care to remember, but in particular I'm pleased that Scott Ward, co-organiser of the London Fortean Society, and also Paul Siefking, who's a founding co-editor of Fortean Times. It says here, we've had apologies from Gordon Rutter, who is stuck in Edinburgh, and he is the head of Charles Forte Institute, and of course Bob Rickard, who's in the Far East. He was hoping to join us. I believe he was very actively involved in the wording and the placing of the plaque. So he was the founder of the Fortean Times and also the Charles Forte Institute. Now there are many other very important and great supporters of Forte here, and I'm sorry I haven't mentioned your names. You've all been plugging away for years. We've just come in very late in the day, so we're just so grateful to be able to recognise Charles Forte in this very small way. I'd now like to pass on to our first citizen, the Mayor of Camden.
Well, first of all, welcome to Camden, to all of you. I know some of you come from very far just for this occasion, and I think this is a fantastic occasion, and I want to thank the Marchmont Association for doing this. There was, let's say, an informal plaque, and they ran a fantastic scheme to put on their own plaques, recognized with the blue background, which is not the official English heritage blue plaque, but still, it's, I think, though Charles Forte lived here just a few years, possibly at the beginning of the 1920s, I think it's very important for us, as a local community. I can't take, when you wear the chain as the Mayor of Camden, you can take credit for many things. So usually we tend sometimes to take credit for things that we don't have any credit at all. All the credit is to the Marchmont Association, and but it's very nice for a local community to recognize the contribution, or maybe just to remember that some people lived here. And he lived here for a particular reason. He lived here because he was very close to the British Museum, and he wanted to go to the British Museum and to spend a lot of time reading all the different, sorry, the British Library, which was at the British Museum at that time. So he wanted to spend a lot of time reading books and finding more data for his research. And I think even if it was a very short time, it's important to remember that he was here, and it's an important heritage for the area to remember the diversity of people living here at that time. It's plenty. If you go around Bloomsbury in the 1920s, 1930s, I think it was the most vibrant part of the whole ward, I would say. And it's important to remember that he was here. And I think it's going to be a good occasion also for all the Fortean members and all the Fortean Society to have something here and to remember that. And I know you used to come here for his birthday and to celebrate, and possibly it's going to be even better now, and you can continue to come here and to remember his time here and all the good contribution that he did to your life. But thank you very much again. Thank you to Richie, thank you to the Fortean Times, thank you to the Fortean Society, and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Lazzaro. Perfect, right on the button, as usual. Great to have you here. Can I now ask colleagues to introduce themselves and to say what they need to say to you?
Hello. My name's Scott. I co-run the London Fortean Society. We're, with all things Fortean, it's all very informal, so we're not presidents or organisers or anything. We just happen to run the thing with help from some good people. For the last 5 years, we've been coming here on Charles Forte's birthday, which I believe is the 4th of August, 5th of August, I think. Well, whichever day. Well, we know it when it is on the day.
It might say on the plaque.
Yeah, roughly then. And just do a short reading from his book and just say cheers, really. Forte was, we understand, he was quite a private person, that he was quite a fan of cheese and beer, so we do bring along cheese and beer to commemorate his birthday and then drink more beer and maybe have more cheese, just to reflect on Fortean things. I was just saying to Paul that Charles Forte himself, of all of the people who have blue plaques along this street, the person who would have hated the idea the most would almost certainly be Charles Forte. He would have hated the idea that there are Forteans still walking around now, I'd imagine. He also would have hated the idea that we weren't walking around on streets on the moon, but that's a whole other story. However, he means an awful lot to us, so sorry mate, this is actually a really good thing to have happen. Slightly winging this, I don't know if you've noticed. Reading Forte for the first time for myself was, as someone who was interested in the stranger edges of science and folklore, was like having it all unravel into a new shape and help my understanding with a lot of things. So I'm really grateful to the 14 Times for introducing him to me and then reading his books and getting a more enlightened and confused perspective on the world. What we do on his birthday is do a very quick reading from the beginning of his first non-fiction book, The Book of the Damned, which I'm going to do very quickly now. I've not rehearsed this because I had to drop my kids off somewhere, so bear with me 1 second. A procession of the damned. By the damned, I mean the excluded. We shall have a procession of data that science has excluded. Battalions of the accursed, captained by pallid data that I have exhumed, will march. You will read them, or they'll march. Some of them are livid, and some of them are fiery, and some of them rotten. Some of them are corpses, skeletons, mummies, twitching, tottering, animated by companions that have been damned alive. They are giants who walk by, some sound asleep. There are things that are theorems and things that are rags, arm in arm with the spirit of anarchy. Here and there will flit little harlots. Many are clowns, but many are of the highest respectability. Some are assassins. There are pale stenches and gaunt superstitions and mere shadows and lively malices, whims and ambiguities, the naive and the pedantic and the bizarre and the gross and the sincere and the insincere and the profound and the puerile. A stab and a laugh and the patiently folded hands of hopeless proprietary, the ultra-respectable, but the condemned anyway. The aggregate appearance is of dignity and dissoluteness, the aggregate voice is of a defiant prayer, and the spirit of the whole is processional. The power, that is to say these things are all damned, is dogmatic science, but they'll march. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I think a couple of things I'd like to say about Charles Forte, which those who hardly know him assume about him. One, that he was the arch enemy of science, which is absolute rubbish, because he was the enemy of orthodoxies, sort of reductionist orthodoxies that sort of excluded a lot of reality, really. And the other one was that he got all his stuff from newspapers. I mean, it's true that 14 Times does tend to do an awful lot of trawling through the press, but his main concern was scientific journals for the last 300 years. He went through complete runs. I mean, it was an amazing project that lasted many years. It was great that he lived here. It was only a short walk to the British Museum, where he spent nearly every day trawling through these magazines and journals before Anna would drag him off to the cinema every night. I think they went to the flicks every night. He was a wonderfully funny man too, I think. Very much against the sort of po-faced seriousness of both skeptics and true believers. We kind of have this middle way, which is a sort of lightness of touch, accepting things provisionally until further evidence came along without being dogmatic about anything really. So I'm very pleased that we come here to celebrate it today. Thank you.
Now, we had this idea, thank you very much guys, we had this idea of unveiling the plaque from the window because we thought it might make a nice photograph. So the speeches are over. What what happens next is we unveil the plaque. Give us a few minutes for our guests, our chief guests, to climb the stairs. I have to thank the guys who live here for allowing us into their bedrooms, and hope you didn't see anyone naked at the window as we did for the Kenneth Williams plaque. We had 500 people in the street, and there's a guy who's just, what's all that noise? Open window, stark naked. And Kenneth would have loved it. And Frank Dobson, who was there on the day, has told the story many times since. So, guys, we need to find a way up. I can also thank my friend Bridge. I call him a friend. I've known him many, many years. Bridge is proprietor of this building. He made the plaque exchange all possible. And Dave Earle, who put the all plaque up originally, and he's here today to tell the story. And Bridge also made a very generous personal donation, which he won't like me saying, but thank you, Bridge, for that. So, if you've got your cameras primed, please don't get knocked over. I will say when the moment is arrived. This building was actually erected in 1806, so it stood the test of time, and the plaque is guaranteed to stay for the lifetime of the building. Plaque maker, in case you're interested, is Ned Hayward, lives in Chepstow. Ned Hayward, OBE, recommended by English Heritage. Who have you elected to unveil the plaque? You need to pull the red cord. The red cord, that's it. Just give it a gentle tug when you're ready. We'll now have the formal unveiling of the Charles Hoy Forte plaque by the Mayor of Camden in the company of prominent Fortians.
Hey, bit harder.
How about that, eh? Isn't it gorgeous? Our plaque maker said it was one of his favourite plaques. We can argue till the cows come home about the wording, and I'm sure you will, but we're stuck with it for life now.